This is going to be a quite a difficult conversation, really, for me to have, but one I kind of really need to do as well. So, all my life, I've really struggled with relationships. I've really struggled with being able to sort of make relationships and be with people, and I've had to do a lot of growing and learning about why there is, and it's not that I can't make relationships. I fall, what's the saying, wearing your heart on your sleeve. I become embarrassingly besotted and obsessed and focused and fixated on someone, and I've kind of now attributed sort of on this journey of growth and self-improvement as to why that is that I have an anxious attachment style. And I'm so grateful to know that because at least I know the disease of the name. I'm not crazy. There is something about this. This theory comes from a really good book called Attached. That's by Amir Levine and Rachel S.F. Heller. And they're basically about three attachment styles that relate to how you sort of engage with the parents and were sort of nurtured by them when growing up, essentially. So they did an experiment in the 60s, I believe, where they had a child and a mother in a waiting room, and the mother would get out and leave. And they class it basically how the child would react when the mother left and engaged. So if the mother left and the child became very emotionally distraught, very upset, and when the mother came back, they were still emotionally distraught and upset and very clingy, that'd be classed as anxious attachment. The more middle ground of that would be the child be secure if the mother left and the child, didn't seem too perturbed and didn't seem too worried, but was sort of curious looking around. But then when the mother came back, they went back to the mother and re-engaged normal contact as if nothing happened. This is classed as secure attachment. But then finally, when the mother left and they sort of, seemed fine and normal, but when the mother came back, they didn't aim to engage in contact again. This is called as avoidant attachment, essentially. And now, sort of summarize those two things, I've struggled with anxious attachment my entire life. It has really been something I just couldn't control, and it almost isn't a thing I can control in a way, because what it is my body responding to a thing that happened in childhood, that really really left me with a hole in my heart, To kind of put it clearly, when I was about 3, my mother, who was pregnant with my sister at the time, was having a very difficult time in with her as well, coming to the end of the labor period. So I had to live with my grandparents when I was 3 for 3 months, and I could probably do a separate video as well. But yeah, my grandparents were very old fashioned and very Indian, and I can go into detail more about that. But that was very emotionally hard for me. I don't remember any of that time. I mean, I was 3, so I obviously have memories from there, but I don't remember anything about it. Just being told about it because I'm sure I just kind of repressed that memory because I felt deep down that was very traumatic for me. Even without any memories of that, being away from my mother for so long at 3 with no idea why, with no understanding, that left me with a really kind of pain. Away from my parents, even my mother and my father, I didn't know, yeah, anything about that. That kind of separation caused a lot of pain in my heart, and that sort of led me to be having this anxious attachment style, and that's been manifesting for years. I mean, let's get current. When I was in like secondary school, I was like obsessed with like this one girl, follow her about school and stuff. That I was just, yeah, generally quite a creepy guy, I guess, in some ways as well. And I'm not proud of it, but I don't excuse it. But I didn't know how to conduct myself in these sort of things. My parents had an arranged marriage, and that's a whole other can of worms I could go into. But I wasn't healthy relationships weren't really modeled for me. There was an idea. It was either the arranged marriage of my parents or, and maybe this will go into a rant as well, it was Bollywood and these ridiculous love songs and opening sequences, and love would be everything and it would fix all your worries, and it's that one great thing that you should strive after. And I kind of swallowed that kind of, I say bill of lies in a kind of a harsh way, but it kind of is in some ways. And one could go on about media and like a kind of like romanticization of love and that kind of blind divine force, and it has to be some kind of craziness when that's not what love is at all. But for years I've been feeling that this anxious attachment, this fear in my chest, is love, and what essentially it is, is my body reacting in a very unskillful way to this feeling of detachment, to feeling what I can't have, so it would manifest with girls like that, or guys, and also just like being very obsessed with people, fixated on people. I was so obsessed with this girl when I was working at Cafe Nero. I was about 22, sort of, yeah, 22, 23. I was working at Cafe Nero, just kind of a dead end job. And why I was there was the whole of the story, but There was this girl there, and we got close. She was very nice for the first time in a very long time since I'd been 18. I had like an actual relationship, which in and of itself was kind of chaotic. We got close and it was nice, and I liked her, but I became obsessed with her and fixated on her, and just constantly messaging, constantly. You know how bad it was, man. I was so damn bad. We'd end up lying in bed together, cuddling, and just like not doing anything, but just cuddling, just so I could be close to her. I just became essentially a kind of emotional tampon in a sense. She was polyamorous and she was seeing some other guy at the time as well. It was a fucking bag of worms, man. It was crazy. It was absolute madness. I was so starved from attention and feeling so insecure myself. I'd sit there at the edge of the table and beg for the scraps of attention from someone else. And I still do that today. I still do that to this very day. I'm still struggling with this issue. I had this thing, well, I was talking to this guy last year, and I kind of got very close to him, very obsessed with the whale, and I just take the scraps of attention this guy would give me. It becomes like a madness if I become fixated on someone, possessive on someone, because I can't tell myself, I can't remind myself that I'm not a child anymore. I have to remind myself that I am an adult. I can meet my needs. My body doesn't know that, and my attachment system doesn't know that. To sort of dial it back here is basically when you're anxiously attached, you become very paranoid the person's gonna leave you. You act out, you attempt to establish real contact at any cost. I mean, yeah, you make for other people to make the sort of making up move after having a fight. Or you can try withdraw and make yourself seem busy or approachable and just kind of be manipulative as well. And this all comes into a system. I wish I was more educated about the avoidance side of things and the school side of things. But anxiousness is what I'm dealing with right now. That's what I've kind of got to hammer home in. So when my when my anxious activation system is activated, I go into flight or flight mode. I'm actually in it right now. Quite bizarrely, I'm actually in it right now. I'm still struggling to this day with it, but I know the beast and I know its name, so I know this is gonna pass. This too will pass is a brilliant saying, because nothing's gonna last forever. I know I can actually feel it. My chest feels like compressed and tight. I feel like I've got butterflies in my stomach. I think it's like, what, how does the saying I put it? It's like thinking that you're having an allergic reaction, and that's love. This is what I'm having is an allergic reaction to someone who's unavailable, who's not actually there, who's not actually really here with me, who's online or something, and it has been online. I've been like falling over guys who've been online and unavailable, and I go after that unavailability because that is what I thought love was. I thought love was chasing after something you can never get. And I don't think I even wanted it in a sense. I don't think I even believed that I wanted love or I deserved love. I just chased after it because I just thought that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to pursue love. You're meant to chase after people, and until they agree, they acquiesce. Not that, you're meant to be yourself and have your own goals and your own values and work on yourself and develop. I didn't think any of that. And I don't want any of you guys to go through that too, really. If you guys are anxiously attached, you're struggling with this kind of stuff, it's a process. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of therapy to kind of get out this, but I can recognize it. The thing is, I wish I really knew about it or remembered to do, is just like, especially when it comes to phones and like online stuff and like messaging people, just get up and do something else. Do something completely different. Just walk out the house even if I had to, sometimes. I just not be around that thing and let the moment pass. This one girl, man, I was just messaging her. Must have been my first year at uni. My first year of uni. I should have been free. I should have been meeting people in real life. I was still fixated on this girl from Cafe Nero, because I was just so besotted over her because she kind of flattered my attention, made me feel like a kind of connection that I was so sort of starved for so long. I've just been living with this kind of starvation mindset. They talk about the growth mindset, the abundance mindset. I was living this mindset of starvation of like, nobody would love me, nobody would want me. So to have that from someone just kind of sent me the other way. I'm still struggling with that today. I'm still struggling, but I'm able to sit and say, I'm struggling, but I do recognize it. And I know it's gonna pass. And as soon as I talk about it now, as soon as I get honest with you guys, I say, yeah, I can meet my needs. I don't have to really be so terrified of someone not paying attention to me. I don't go away if someone doesn't pay attention to me. That's the thing, the rejection, the fear of it. I can meet my own needs. I can take care of myself. I can look after myself. I can be there for myself. I don't have to be so terrified. And so subject to this. But look, we're gonna intellectualize this until the cows come home. You know that. I am a great spinner of like intellectual fables, like mental mind maps and all the kind of stuff. You know, jumping from point to point. It's a very visceral thing though. It's very much linked to like my nervous system and like my mindset and like also kind of it's a physiological thing. I mean, it's not like a mental thing I can change. I could logically think when I was talking to that girl and messaging her on Facebook, oh, it was so bad like a fucking Facebook notification on my phone that went off. I got like a fucking dopamine hit. It was actually Pavlovian. This is how bizarre it was. That Facebook ping that goes off on your phone when I was talking to this girl back in 2019, 2020, you know, and I was obsessing over how we were still talking, and yeah, the shit just got really messy, you know. It was so Pavlovian, that fucking ping, you know, I would have to look at that phone like a crack addict, man, because I was, and I am in the sense, really, you know. I am kind of an addict to these kind of like, I guess, to, well, love or sex or just kind of intrigue, I guess. I don't know. I am kind of an addict to these things, you know. And that could be kind of tying into like instant gratification as well, but yeah, I'm just remembering now the profound memories and the pain it just caused, you know. But I thought that's what love was, that you had to suffer this pain and the kind of emotions and chaos it churns up me. You know, I'm addicted to chaos. I'm addicted to not knowing if this person likes me or not. I'm addicted to this person being capricious of me. And this all links back, I guess, you know, my parents. I love my parents. They did a lot for me, but they didn't have any. I could go on another video about this as well. They didn't have a guide or anything like how to really, you know, raise children or take care of children or anything like that, you know, like they did the best they could, like the way their parents had done, and so forth, you know. But yeah, they worked long shifts for me and my sister, you know. They provided for us. They worked a lot. And there's William First Man video where he says, you know, your parents can work for you, but if you're never home for your kids, you know, and even if you're working for them or the dad's working for the kids, you know, are they really going to be close to them, you know? I don't regret my parents one bit for working the way they did, you know, but my mum worked night shifts, like an airport. My dad worked long hours, a post office, and they weren't always there. And I had to go to my grandparents a lot, and I had to be taken care of by them a lot as well. And that was, yeah, that's a whole other kind of worms. There's a lot of generational trauma, I think, in every family. But I'm able to see it, thankfully now a bit more clearly, and I'm not able to be so harsh on my parents because I know where they came from and they struggled, man. My mother lived in abject poverty, you know. It was tough for them growing up, really. Like, so they did the best they could, and I love them for that. But it has to start with me, you know. It has to really start from me and sort of healing this, you know. And that's why I'm directing all these videos to you, younger Karen, you know, my younger self, like 15, 16, 20, you know, when he was younger, he didn't know what he was doing, you know. He was in the grip of addiction, you know, he was in the grip of huffing gas, you know, it was crazy, man. I have lived through some awful shit, and I want all you guys, everyone who's watching, I don't want any of you to go through the shit I've lived through, you know. I don't want any of you to go through the pain. I don't want any of your families to go through the pain that I've lived through. This got deep. This got very emotional, guys. I just thought I was going to talk about attachment systems, but it's not just that. Nothing is in isolation. Everything is interlinked, and it's all interdependent here, man. But there's a really good book I like called Where the Superior Man, where he says, you know, the divine masculine's job is to sort of be there in the world, towards the divine feminine, in the chaos, and sort of, you know, open up to it, breathe into it, you know. Don't Not to close up and retreat and sort of be terrified, but to open yourself, breathe in with your stomach. And that's kind of a powerful thing. I think even like your posture can really dictate how your mood or your mindset feels. Just soften into the moment. Be there for it. Be open to it with your belly or whatnot, you know. Just be with it and breathe into it. It's a powerful sort of technique or ritual to have, you know. I'm in it. I'm in it right now, but I know that I'm able to speak to this stuff on camera that I've been just holding inside, burning onto me for so many years, man. I don't want any guys who are watching this right now, any girls or anyone really, you know. I don't want you to go through the same pain of attachment and fixation, obsession, and that same pain and cycle, because that is not what love is. Love is not this painful, horrible thing. That's lust, that's envy, that's jealousy, that's suspicion, that's everything else. Love, what love actually is the most broad and most like. I guess I'm gonna get a filter here. Love is the most broad and most universal force on this planet, in this universe. You know, it's so open. It's you can't. I think even the word love itself in English doesn't make sense. Like the ancient Greeks used to have different kinds of love, like philios and eros, you know, for body love and erotic love, and you know, agape is this kind of divine love for everything, for all things. And then even in Buddhism, you know, the metta, this loving kindness, this compassion for all things. That's what I want to cultivate and strive for, you know. Not saying I don't want to be in a relationship or be with someone, you know, and be a good boyfriend or whatever, but it's just learning about how to love, how to be a person, you know. And I'm still here on this journey struggling, and but it's the best struggle I've ever had. I'd rather struggle here and make my mistakes and own up and say, you know what, yep, I'm still anxiously attached and I'm still working on it, than try and drown it out, you know, or forget about it, or think, or even give up. That might be some black pill people or red incels or whatever. They might have just given up, and I've seen that people go down that path, and it's a scary path to go when you give up and think like that. But you know, I'm gonna knock on the head here. Anxious attachment is basically your body reacting unskillfully to a stimulus or just a rejection or just someone who's emotionally unavailable. Someone online as well, especially if it's an online relationship. Those are the worst because they're not real. This is the thing you've got to remind yourself, and it sounds so hard and horrible. If you watch my videos, watch Ham's videos, anyone's self-improvement videos, if they're behind a screen, they're not actually real. That is kind of the thing, and that looks into porn, that looks into video games. Anything behind the screen isn't actually real, in the truest sense. We're humans. We're built for like flesh and blood and physical intimacy and love. You know, being there with people. We're not built for these screens that look like people, talk like people, seem like people to our eyes and our brains, but we know they're not actually people. We know they're not actually there sitting with us. As much as I'd love to, you know, be there with you right now and give you a bear hug, you know, and say it's all gonna be okay, you know, I'm just here at the other end of this camera, you know. But I hope you have people in your life you can actually be there for, be present with, you know, be real with, you know. I'm so grateful I made this video. I didn't want to make this video. You know what I want to do? I wanted to go on Discord and talk to this guy, or try and see if this guy on Discord I've been talking to at the moment is still there, and try and re-establish that contact with my attachment system, guys. I'm still in it. I'm still in that kind of stuff, and I'm still running off it, you know. But I can admit that I'm struggling right here on the path with you of self-improvement. And you know what a great path it is for struggling, because I can sit here, I confess it to my stakes, I can talk to you guys, and you know what? I could be real with you. I could say the real shit, the obsession, the fear, the paranoia, all the pain I've caused, all the suffering I've done, you know, and that's happened to me. I can be real about it because I don't want you to ever go through what I did, you know. Nobody ever has to, you know. Or if you are going through shit right now, man, you know, I really wish the best for you out there. This was a moving one. This is a real one. I've got to refine these things down. I'm not the best of recording these videos, but hey, I'm just gonna keep cranking this out, man. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be present. Take care, everyone. Thank you.